And today we are going to discuss a very, very interesting topic. And the topic is, what role does diet play in making us healthy, active, and more beautiful? So we have with us Miss Malvika Gupta. She is a very well-known clinical nutritionist. She has spent a lot of time into this field. She's also a yoga trainer. She's also a mindful eating coach. So we are very happy to have you here, Malvika ji. And over to you. So we want to hear from you about your journey. Why did you choose this field in the first place? What interested you in nutrition, and where do you think this field is going to go in future?
Thank you so much for inviting me over and for that introduction. I think as a kid, I've always loved, cooking or doing certain things, experimenting with food. And as kids, grandparents and all used to ask as kids to come into the kitchen, do a little bit of work, little bit of cutting vegetables, little bit of seeing what they're cooking as such. So I think that provoked ignited that spark of cooking and playing with food, not just playing with the kitchen set that we used to play as kids, but the real life kitchen. And I think as I grew up, going into the paramedical field, this really interested me and pulled me towards it. And I happened to end up doing my bachelor's in applied nutrition, and it made me understand it's much more than cooking. To be honest, it's not just about food fun stuff and all. It's more about going into the depth of food, the biochemistry, the food chemistry, the aspect of how a body reacts to certain food. It was so much more in depth about it. And yeah, today I am here finally completing, doing going deeper into the subject, doing a clinical nutrition, again, knowing how different foods react with a human body when you have certain diseases, disorders like that. So all these concepts have really blew my mind, and that made me even research into the topic deeper, going apart from the studies or what you're taught in schools and colleges as such.
Right,
So I
right.
think that's
And
how I've kept going. Yeah.
you used the word paramedical. Now with the amount of new research that is happening in the nutrition field, maybe in some times to come, we don't know when, but for all you know, nutritionists could be the new age doctors, and it could be the medical field, like how to use nutrition for that. So what do you have to say for that? And if you could give us some examples of people you have seen in your actual case studies, like how nutrition benefited them in their disease process.
Definitely. So as you just mentioned that, okay, nutritionists being like the new age doctors and all. So as a clinical nutritionist, when we go into a hospital, we are alongside working with a doctor, seeing to the patient's needs. Like after a treatment is given to a patient, seeing what kind of food is to be given for the healing, repairing of the body to happen. So I have worked at the backside, taking consultations and all, more keeping my belief strong into holistic healing, where I believe you can heal people right from the root cause, before they even
Yes,
have the need to go to a hospital. So I have helped
absolutely.
people cure their PCOS, thyroid, diabetes, and all, which I have come to a conclusion they are just nothing but your lifestyle disorders. Like PCOS today is so much more prevalent because
Yes.
we are sleeping late, or we have the easy access to the gadgets and
Yeah.
so many things going on the social media. So I think I have seen people get cured once they realize. Sometimes people are not aware. So I've helped people seen them getting cured when they are more aware of what's going on, and simultaneously their diabetes, the sugar levels going down, coming back to normal, the thyroid levels improving, and again that also coming to normal. So that I've seen happening to my clients with just a shift
Nice.
their awareness and just knowing what's going wrong in their body or what they were doing wrong.
Sure, sure. So I'm sure, like, a lot of audience who is currently hearing you, like, they will have cases of thyroid, they will have cases of PCOD, PCOS. So what do you have to tell them as to what are the kind of, let's say, top few things that they should do, or at least they should at least think about? Because a lot of people would go to doctor and then they start taking a thyroxine tablet, and then you don't think about it. So how would you want those people to think about food, their relationship with food, if any guidance you could give on that line?
Okay. So that's tapped into a lot of things, which are very basic, which I would want them to keep in mind. So firstly, as I mentioned, these are nothing but lifestyle disorders. So first, looking into, was it your lifestyle that must have caused it? So if you heard of it, India is like one of the biggest capital of diabetes, is what it's termed as. So many people are diabetic in India very easily. Like one or three out of every five person in the world today, in India especially. So
Oh wow, three out
yeah,
of
so
five. That's crazy.
yeah, so we need to like look into where are we going wrong? Like why is this happening and why has it become such a
Yes.
normal thing to be diabetic today? So are we coming home late from our offices, like the businessmen and all? Are we coming too late, not taking our health for granted, sleeping late, having late night dinners? I think that's one main thing you need to look into. Are you eating your meals late? If you're eating right, that's fine. But again, when are you eating? Are you eating it at the right time? That also matters, which I would
Yes.
want people to be mindful of. And then second, even if you're eating the healthiest of healthy foods, if your body is not getting that rest, if you're not getting that quality of sleep and not just the quantity of sleep, that's also going to affect your body.
Absolutely.
And
Yep.
again, apart from sleep and eating, if you're not staying active, if you're very
Yeah.
sedentary, I think that's also going to cause buildup of toxins, a lot of fat in the body.
Correct,
So
correct. So let's say if someone, so these are very good lifestyle tips that you gave, like, we have to eat the right thing and then at the right time and get enough rest and then get working, do yoga, gym, whatever they like to do. So get energetic and get working on those. But tell me a little bit about right eating. You mentioned right eating, and maybe a lot of people would have different definitions for right eating. So what does right eating mean for a particular person?
okay. So by right eating, for example, take a normal meal plate. So how do you make sure that what you're eating is right and in a balanced form? So right eating would be something where your meal is balanced, and it will be balanced when it has the macronutrients and micronutrients as and how the food is classified. So, to make it very simple for all the audience and all of us to understand, macronutrients would be carbohydrate, fat, proteins, and the micronutrients would be your vitamins and minerals, vitamin C, A, D, E, K, all those things.
Yes.
So, carbohydrate, fat, protein, and fiber, the macros. Carbohydrate would be in the form of rice, roti, or the upma, dalia, dosa, idli. All these are your carbohydrates. And now the protein aspect is very important. So make sure along with that roti or rice, you have some dal, some or paneer, chole, rajma, any pulse, a whole pulse or legume. That would be your protein, or it could be a dairy source like curd or tofu, the vegan source, soybean, soya chunks. So those are your proteins. And then a fiber aspect, which could be a bowl of salad, or it could be a vegetable curry. Or if you're very busy and you can't make your meals, I've had clients who say, see, I can't make four aspect. I can't keep seeing is my meal balanced, is my meal balanced. So just
Correct.
add in those vegetables in your dal. Add in like a tomato paste or something in your paneer ka puree. Add in some capsicum or something in that vegetable curry. So having fiber, protein, carbohydrate, and fat is by default there in every Indian meal in the seasoning. So that's how you balance it
Yeah.
out.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct, correct. So these days we see a lot of hype about proteins. Like everybody is talking about proteins. Whether we go to a gym, the gym instructor would say that take a scoop of protein after gym, or like wherever we go, we hear the word protein, protein, protein. And so tell me this, like you deal with so many patients, and you deal with so many in your history. If someone is lacking in protein, let's say if I'm not eating enough protein, how would that show? Like, how would you know I need to take more or less protein? Like, what are the symptoms of someone with, or what is the disease that get caused by lack of protein, or what are the symptoms?
Okay. So, disease and all, to be very particular in the clinical side, there are diseases like marasmus, kwashiorkor, and all, which is seen, which is more prevalent in countries like Africa and all, but not,
Malnutrition, yes.
yeah, malnutrition,
Correct.
but not really in India and all. Like, I mean, of course, in the suburbs and the villages, you can see that. But for us, it would usually be seen as not feeling that energetic, not being able to build on that muscle mass even after you're doing those heavy workouts. You're not seeing much change in the body, and you'll also feel like. I mean, you feel that difference when you look at a person, like the body mass going down, like the muscular dystrophy, weakness. All this is going to be happening, and hair fall, because majority your hair is majority just protein. So if you're lacking in protein, it's going to result on your lots of hair fall and your nails going brittle and not feeling energetic. Those are the major symptoms.
Understood, understood. A lot of the, in your experience, what have you seen more, like people coming to you more with deficiencies of macronutrients, or people coming to you with more deficiencies of micronutrients like vitamins and minerals, and so what have you seen more?
Okay. That's a very good question you've come up with, because majority of us are unaware of this when clients come to me. Um, of course, I knew it. Like, I understood that I knew about it because I've studied, but maybe people are not aware of this. The vitamin D and B12 is one of the major vitamins that people are lacking in today. Like, I would just be honest, I myself was lacking in that vitamin when I heard about how important it is to our body. So these two are the very major vitamins that people are lacking in. Every client that comes to me, in fact, says I'm de-energetic, I'm not feeling well, or I'm having mood swings, I'm feeling depressed, anxious, not able to sleep well at night. These two vitamins, D and B12, are something you really need to keep a tab on. So, vitamin D is also called as a hormone now. It's categorized as a hormone. So, and D is also responsible for the absorption of calcium in the body. And especially as a woman, like a lot of female clients that I have, they even if you're consuming right amount of milk in the form of calcium or supplements, etc., your body is not able to absorb it, especially as you start aging and reaching that menopause stage. If your vitamin D is dropping down, it's not gonna help you. Your bones are gonna become more porous, more spongy. So vitamin D is something you need to keep a tab on and take that supplementation if it's needed. Number one. Number two, vitamin B12. Again, it's more responsible for your neural function of how you're feeling. Even psychologically, mentally, are you able to sleep better? These vitamins will really help you in that. And B12 is also going to help you with your hair issues. If you're having a lot of hair fall and all, just checking on your vitamin B12 apart from the biotin supplements that people might be taking.
Understood, understood. So I'm getting a lot of audience questions as well. So like I get, like, what is the daily requirement of protein for an adult, and can we fulfill through natural foods, or is it necessary to go for supplements in case of bodybuilding?
Okay. So the normal recommended dietary intake of protein would be zero point 0.8 grams per kg body weight, okay, on an average. But to just make it more clear, you can consider for a average male, it would be 56 grams. And for a female, like around 45, 46 grams per kg body weight. Sorry, for a female.
For a female body, yeah.
Yeah, not per kg body weight, but 46 grams as a female, you make sure you consume in a day.
Okay,
All right.
okay.
So,
And supplements, like, is it necessary to go for supplements, or uh,
um,
we can do it like through novel sources?
so again, that would depend on how well you're managing your meals. If you're making sure that every meal of yours is balanced with a proper protein, you're getting that one bowl of sprouts, little bit of curd in between, some buttermilk, some chia seeds. These are all your natural protein sources. If you're making sure you are aware of that protein in throughout the day, then it's fine. But if you're very busy and you tend to forget if you're able to balance your meal or not, then a supplement would be ideal, especially if you're working out, going to the gym. Taking that one scoop of protein, mixing up in your smoothies. So I've had clients who are super busy and they just cannot even make their breakfast, like working moms and all. So they would just have their breakfast as a smoothie, which would be with a scoop of protein and with the fruits and oats or
Huh.
the overnight chia pudding and such. So
Correct.
supplements might be required if you're not sure if you're eating a balanced meal throughout the day, you're somewhere messing up in between. But if you're very conscious and able to make it a balanced one throughout the week, then it's sorted. Such.
Okay, there is another cute question I have got, which is where does elephant gets its protein from? It's neither drinking milk nor is it like eating any non-veg or things like that. It's just on, and plus I don't think we can challenge. It's a good question because I don't think we can challenge elephant on the strength it will have. So that's the question.
Okay, so being a human nutritionist, I'm not sure where this animal gets its protein from, but I think as even humans or even as animals, most of our protein sources or the calcium sources are determined by a birth. Like, I mean, once you're born, you get half of your nutrition and your gut microbiome, which I will be discussing. All that is settled when you're born from your mother's milk as such, right then and there. Your entire body's got microflora and the milk, the calcium, the protein, whatever the excess sources that you need to be getting, I think it's determined then and there. And the rest, I'm not sure where that elephant gets it from, to be honest. But yeah, can you hear me? You're on mute, I think. Not able to hear you, Ashish.
Audible now?
Yeah, you're audible now.
So I think there is some technical connectivity issue with Priyanka's. So
Yeah, no
ah,
issues.
she's back.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great, great, great. So yes, so Malvika, we were discussing uh, where does elephant gets its protein from? Yeah, that was the question.
Yes. You can hear me, right?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear
Yeah. Yeah, so as I mentioned, I think most majority of its protein for any baby, animal or human is determined by the nutrition that it's getting from its mother's womb initially, and then after it's born from the mother's milk and everything for the initial year, and after that naturally from the foods that it eats, maybe from the grass or whatever they must be eating, which I'm not sure.
you.
So
Understood.
yeah.
Understood. Okay, okay. So one more. So like there is these days, there's a lot of talk about gut-brain connection and how your gut speaks to your brain in that sense. So if you could elaborate a little bit on that note, like what is it? Is it real? Does food really affect how we feel about various things in life? How does it work?
Okay. So that's like one of my most favorite topic, my personal favorite topic. So if in the ancient times, the rishis or sages almost call the human body as Purusha, which means one who resides over the city. So if you know, our human body is 90% bacteria and just 10% human. So if you can imagine, it's almost like the bacteria is residing in the body, like in the city.
So we are
So
more bacteria than human.
yes, yes, we are. And you believe it or not, like most of our brain and the gut is connected. As you just mentioned, it is connected for a fact. And
Hmm.
90% of our neurons are located and centralized in our intestines, like in our nervous system.
Hmm.
So the way you feel impacts your brain, and sometimes how your brain feels impacts your digestive system. So it's like a cycle that goes on. If you're feeling depressed, sometimes you're eating more or you're not eating at all, depending on the kind of person you are.
Hmm.
And you must have noticed people say feeling butterflies in the stomach or feeling nervous. So all of this is simultaneously impacting you. You're feeling nervous, you'll feel pukish, you're not able to eat. You're feeling acidic, that's because you're stressed. There's a lot of tension in the body, or you've not slept well probably. So these are a few symptoms that you can see as to how it's connected.
Hmm.
Okay. And now, like 90% bacteria, and isn't that important when it says 90% bacteria? Because there's something called as good bacteria and bad bacteria. So again, if you're eating some good foods that are going to help in nourishment of your body, so that could be, I mean, the well-balanced diet like fruits, vegetables, um, normal rice, dal, roti, sabzi, home-cooked foods. That's going to provide environment for the good bacteria. But if you're eating foods that are unhealthy, very spicy, oily, sugary, these are going to mostly come under bad bacteria, which if increases more, then it's going to cause you diseases and disorders in the stomach and the body. But if your good bacteria is more, then it's obviously going to help you thrive, nourishment, repair, heal, sustain more. It's also
Yes.
going to reflect on your skin, the biggest gland. So
So
your
how do you take care of this bacteria? Like a lot of people these days are vegan, so like and curd, of course, then it doesn't become an option. So how do vegan people take care of their gut bacteria? And like both in terms of how do we increase the number of these good bacteria, and then whatever bacteria is there, how do we take care of them? Both
okay.
the things, like yeah.
Okay. So first I'm going to say it in general as to how we can take care, and then I'm going to say how vegans can take care. So normally to take care of your gut bacteria, we need to make sure that we are including these two kind of foods specifically. One is probiotics, second is prebiotics. So probiotics are nothing but the live strain of bacteria or microorganisms that are beneficial for the body or the intestine to thrive on the bacteria. So probiotics are mostly seen in curd, the fermented foods like curd, kimchi, sauerkraut, or pickled vegetables. It could even be your natural buttermilk, or to a certain extent buttermilk, or the idli dosa, which is nicely fermented. These are also good sources of probiotics because they have those live strains of bacteria in them. And then the prebiotic is more of a non-digestible form of fiber, which is seen in onion, garlic, normal fruits, vegetables, which is going to again help you to maintain that bacteria. So to make sure that your gut is good, sustained, make sure you're including curds, um, buttermilk, or maybe milk in your foods. People have even come up with this thing called Yakult, which is just an exclusive probiotic supplement in the market, invented by a Japanese scientist as such. So people are taking Yakult and all now, knowing the benefits of probiotics in the body. So those are your probiotics.
Yakult. Now you mentioned Yakult. So Yakult, is it only prebiotic, or this also has like 5 teaspoon of sugar in that small pack as well, and that's why children love it. So would you overall say it's a good or a bad thing?
So it is a probiotic, it's not a prebiotic, and it would be all right to consume it as long as you really need it. Let's say, I mean, not just purely depending on it, but maybe having it twice or thrice in a week, and then other times you have other sources is what I suggest. because otherwise your body is just used to that probiotic and that level and that intensity of it. So maybe getting your body used to the natural sources would also be really good, I would suggest. And especially if like kids are like at a young age, making their body used to the natural sources more rather than the easily available one. I know it is.
Correct, correct, correct. You mentioned about, in your examples, you also mentioned about dosa and idli. But won't it be the case that a lot of natural organisms, like the natural bacteria, they would die when we eat them?
Yeah, but when you have fermented it overnight and all, I think it naturally contains that. So I don't think it would die and all, but it is still a good source of probiotic to be considered.
Okay,
Like, maybe they would have a lesser concentration compared to the curds and the kimchi, sauerkraut and all, but they are still like the Indian probiotic which you can consider.
or maybe they help in digesting the carbohydrates which are there already. So it becomes in a very easy form for the body to digest these idli, dosa, etc. Okay,
Yes.
very nice. So, like, I'm getting a lot of questions from the users. So they are asking, is it healthy to take Yakult every day?
No, not every day is what I would suggest. Like I just mentioned, not getting your body used to a external source of supplement. If you are really super busy and you can't afford to take curd in the day and all, then of course go ahead with it. But if you cannot and your gut is at a stake, it's really you're having a lot of disorders, diseases and stuff, then get yourself checked with a dietitian as well if you really think that need if there would be a need of Yakult every single day.
Sure, sure, sure. Then the other question I'm getting is, how many hours should one person sleep every day?
Okay, interesting. So I would say it's not the quantity of sleep, but the quality of sleep that I believe in, and all of us should aim at. So even if you see people today, even if they sleep for 8 hours, 9 hours, it's not a well rested sleep. If you're
Hmm.
sleeping with a lot of thoughts going on in your head and you just wake up, sometimes you even feel more tired when you've slept for more than 8 hours, if you slept for 12 hours and all. So I think quantity of sleep is not something you should focus on at all, but the quality of sleep. If you're sleeping for that 6 hours, make sure that's that deep rested sleep. Or if you even if you get that small 20-minute nap, which in yoga terms I call it as yoga nidra, and I suggest that to all my clients. Even if you get that 20-minute nap in the afternoon, it'll make you feel so much more rested than that 8 hours of sleep sometimes when you're very stressed. So just see if you're getting that. If when you wake up in the morning, are you feeling fresh? Are you feeling energetic? Are you happy and ready to go for the day? That means you've got that good, well rested sleep that your body needed. But if you wake up feeling tired, groggy, you're more cranky, you feel I need a little more of sleep and all, check into your vitamins, check if you slept late, check if you slept with the gadgets next to you, and analyze those things.
So, like, when you spoke about gadgets, so how much away should gadgets be, or like, is there any kind of zone you need to have where gadgets are not around, something like that?
Of course. So now something that we've termed it as a nighttime ritual, which will make you feel more accountable for it. Just make sure if you can, if not 1 hour, 1 hour is something that I would suggest. If not 1 hour, at least 30 minutes. Just see to it that you're aware from the gadgets before you go to bed. Because there's also research which states that when you're using too much of phone, there's like the blue light that's emitted, but luckily, we have the dark mode that's enabled in most of our phones, our laptops, as
I'm,
such.
I'm so
And
sorry. My connection just went for a toss, so I'm very sorry. Yes.
no,
Okay. One more question. I'm getting a lot of questions on the laptop from a lot of people. So what they're saying is, like, a lot of people have vitamin D deficiency, and these days they are taking supplement. So isn't sunlight a better alternative? Why is everyone relying on so much of supplementation these days? Is it an industry thing that everyone is recommending, and then everyone is taking those when sun is, of course, nice and bright every day here?
um, so I've personally seen and felt this as well as the question has come up. Ki, why are we all going to a supplement? Like, isn't the sunlight just enough? But I feel just the sunlight is still not being enough for the all of us, because vitamin D intake is like a particular amount of micrograms that's needed for your body every single day. And if you're not getting that, then supplementation is ideal. So there are many supplements like 1000 international units which you can take per day depending on your vitamin D levels, or depending on your if you're very deficient in the vitamin D after you get your blood reports checked, then you take the 60,000 international units, one supplement per week after consulting your dietitian or your physician. So these are a few things which I've seen happening in real. Even if you get the sunlight, I think it's not just sufficient these days. And food sources, it's just in a very micro form that's present and just not sufficient for the body. So just on an honest note, yeah, supplements really they do help. And if you get yourself checked and you think your body is lacking in that, consult your dietitian or your physician and please go ahead with the supplement. These days, doctors are even giving directly injections if people are that deficient. So I've had clients who came back to me and said they were so much more deficient that they had to immediately take an injection of vitamin D or B12. So
Understood. Understood.
what's your
And
level?
what's the reason? Like, why are people getting so and so deficient? Especially like in B12. Like, why are people getting deficient? And especially vegetarians is what we have heard. What could be the reason for this deficiency? And uh, is it something which is very new, or was it also happening? Let's say 50 years back, or maybe in our parents' generation or their parents' generation. Was it still happening? Like anything that we can do to prevent it or to take it from the natural sources, like B12 for vegetarians? Like if you could talk a little bit about that.
Right. So B12 for vegetarians and even for vegans, like even vegans are being very much deficient in it. And to be honest, not just vegetarians, vegans, today even non-vegetarians, most of them are deficient in B12 from my experience from the clients that I've treated all this while. So I just feel somehow it's naturally that our body is not being able to synthesize it. Like I was going through some research articles the other day that both vitamin D and B12, our body is not being able to synthesize it, and it's also probably because the way our food is produced today, a lot of hybrid form, too much of cleaning and sterilizing that's happening. Because from what I heard, B12 is
In the
somewhat like
mud,
a
soil.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So if your food is that clean, maybe it's not just able to enter your body, and even if it enters, it's so negligent that
Yeah.
your body is not able to synthesize, and it's just not enough.
Yeah. No, in fact, like this is also one of the questions. Like, how do we get B12 from food? Now we just spoke that if B12 is available in fresh water sources and fresh when you are in the soil and all. So should you wash the vegetable or should you not wash it? So you're washing it because of the pesticide content, but then you are also washing away the B12. So what should one do? Like they want to get the B12 but they don't want to be infected with like various chemicals into the body and all. So like what should a person do?
That's right.
Dhoye
So,
ki na dhoye?
so see, I would personally say just wash your vegetables. If there's especially like a lot of mud, you don't want to get infected, especially it's monsoon now. Okay, and B12 can be got from other sources. Like one of the sources that I have personally tried is the fermented rice kanji drink,
Mm-hmm.
and other fermented, like beetroot kanji and all, which you can make. So fermented rice is like you take 1 tablespoon of rice and put it in water, like cooked rice, put it
Cooked
in
rice.
water.
Okay. Mhm.
Sorry, put it in a glass or a matka,
Okay.
earthen pot.
Mud pot. Huh.
Yeah, yeah. And then you put like just put in some water and keep it overnight, and the next day you can have it from that earthen pot. You will see that
Okay.
it ferments, the taste changes a little, and like it's just a
Right.
good both probiotic as well as a little bit of vitamin B12
B12
that
as well.
the body can get.
Understood. Like, so the questions I see, a lot of questions actually relate to supplementation. So it looks like people do not want to take supplementation for this vitamin, that vitamin, and this and that. People are looking to see how, in my food only I get everything. So
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 mostly like B12 and vitamin D, it'll be really great. Like first you check on your vitamin levels. If you think you're deficient, then you might want to consider that. Otherwise, you can just consider if you're a non-vegetarian, you're good to go. You can just consider eating an egg, proper meat sources and all in your day-to-day diet. But if you're a vegan or a vegetarian, then you might need to consider that after a
understood.
family.
Understood. So, like, what are the, let's say, if someone wants to, so he's currently, let's say someone is eating a lot of junk food and now they want to make that switch, so where should they start, and what are the typical things that you have seen in your career, why people go back to their previous lifestyle? So, let's say I'm eating very unhealthy now, I start, and then for 1 month I do, and then I go back. So why do you think people go back to where they started, and what advice would you give them so that they are able to continue on that path?
Right. So see, if you're naturally eating junk food for a very long time, like the clients that have come to me and all, they come to you for the fact that they've realized that the junk food has really impacted their body. They've
Hmm.
either become obese,
Hmm.
or either they've contracted some diseases like PCOS or diabetes or thyroid, or they're having excess hair fall, or they are into a 9 to 5 job where they're not able to sustain their energy levels, or it's just impacting some or the other part of their body, which you can naturally see it manifesting in you.
Hmm.
So that's why they come to you or a dietitian or a wellness coach. Now, how do I help them? Is by starting small. You can't suddenly tell them just stop eating whatever you're
हाँ,
eating and you have
वो
to
तो
listen.
होने नहीं वाला, हाँ, correct.
Yeah. So I just start with a small step, and the biggest one would be let's stop eating sugars, I would say, maybe to
Okay.
begin with.
So
So
reduce sugar, or you ask them to stop. So, like, because I want the people who are listening it, at least, if they want to make the first step, how should they go about it? Is it zero, or I half it, like?
okay. Ideally, you have to go to zero sugar because sugar is
Okay.
just not good for your health at all. It's okay if you're eating it once in a while in the form of jaggery, honey, and all, once in a while, but not every day, especially if you have diabetes or PCOS, which is insulin resistance dependent and all. So you have to go to no sugar gradually. But if you're very addicted to sugar, people come and say, I'm not addicted to anything. But when you ask them and you probe, you realize they're addicted to sugar in the form of tea, coffee,
Yeah.
some juice form, something or the other. So you need to probe and just see if you're taking sugar, too much sugar in your caffeine. At least stop taking it there. Switch it with stevia, which is a natural form, stevia powder, easily available on Amazon. Let's start doing that. So that would be the
But
biggest.
stevia tastes bad. It doesn't taste as good as the sugar, right?
Okay, but it would be
But I
better
think
if
करना तो पड़ेगा.
like better to invest in stevia than investing in some more medicines later on in the future to
Correct.
like
Correct.
it's an acquired taste. Get yourself either used to that taste or just see if you can reduce the intake of your caffeine ना दो बार तीन बार पीना जरूरी थोड़ी ना है. Like just see
हाँ,
if you can cut it down to once a day
correct.
like
Correct. Correct.
that.
Correct.
So naturally sugar intake is gone if it's too much of caffeine
हाँ.
base and yeah then
So
gradually see.
कैफीन खराब है या शुगर खराब है? So you mentioned about कि कॉफी भी कम कर दे, तो शुगर ज्यादा खराब है या कैफीन ज्यादा खराब है या कंपटीशन है दोनों में?
सबसे ज्यादा तो शुगर ही खराब है. If you've
हाँ.
seen, sugar is the biggest like the addictive substance that
Yeah.
WHO had classified, like
Yeah.
even more addictive than cocaine,
Yeah.
literally.
Oh wow.
So,
Yeah.
it's very addictive because you have one spoon of sugar or some that Nutella spoon or a
You
brownie.
want to have more, हाँ.
Yeah, it's that dopamine boost in your
हाँ.
brain. You feel
हाँ.
really happy, you feel really good, and
So ये
then
जो
you
डोपामिन बूस्ट होता है, ये ब्रेन से होता है या पेट से होता है? बिकॉज खाया एंड देन आई थिंक मे बी पेट से भी होता होगा. बिकॉज खा के खुशी इतनी जल्दी सिग्नल नहीं मिलता, वो देख के ही सिग्नल मिल जाता है कि खुशी होने वाली है.
हाँ, तो देख के तो खुशी मिलती है, उसके बाद खाने के बाद आई गेस वो एक्सपीरियंस होता है प्रैक्टिकली।
Uh-huh.
So mostly like after that's released and when the levels go down and you feel low or anything and you again want to have that bite just to feel that happiness or
Feel
that
that high again.
yeah. So you keep
Correct.
eating it again and again. So sugar is the biggest addictive substance.
तो उसको तो हटाना ही है, बाकी कुछ हटाओ ना हटाओ, शुगर को तो हटाना ही है.
Huh.
Okay.
And then
हाँ.
caffeine, I would say, see, I would not say ठीक है completely बंद करो and all. If you're really into it, you think you have a hectic day and थोड़ा तो होना ही होता है. So at least don't have it 3, 4, 6 times a day. I have clients who came to me and said कि one black coffee, then after work another black coffee, then I'll have coffee with my colleagues, then I'll have a cup of tea if I go out. So that's not done. Like you just
हाँ.
count how much caffeine you're ingesting in your stomach. It's gonna destroy your gut health. It's just not
Correct.
required, just not suggested at all.
So tell me this. So caffeine, like one question which I have is, I don't take tea or coffee, but I really love this cacao powder, which is like dark chocolate powder without sugar. But I have heard even that has caffeine. So is it good or bad? Because you research about raw cacao beans and dark chocolate. There are a lot of good things, but at the same time, I believe it also has caffeine. So how does it work? Like, is that okay? Not okay? What do you say to that?
Um, I would say to some extent, the cacao powder that you would be using is okay. Like maybe not too often or not every single day, but it's okay to have it thrice a day. I've seen people mix it in their chia seed
Yeah,
pudding.
whatever. Like, yeah, wherever you put it,
So
correct.
I think it's fine, but not because also it has some plant what is it called? Plant hormones, phytonutrients, and all in them, which
Okay,
sometimes is also helping you. So that's
okay,
fine. And
okay.
caffeine is also okay for your body, but not too often is what I am suggesting. Not more than 3 or 2 times in a day. Let's just cut it down to restrict it to 2 times a day, max to max.
Understood, understood. And what do you now with so many movies which are coming on the subject of milk consumption and what the hell? So many famous players, like cricket players, so they are becoming vegan. So many well-known people are becoming vegan these days. So what do you say to milk and especially milk which is not the A2 milk, but the typical milk which is there in the country right now, or not the country, overall in the whole world, is the A1 type of milk. So, what do you say to milk, and especially the kind of treatment it involves giving to cows? And do we really need milk that much that you will torture an animal to drink that? Do you need to do that?
Right. So this topic is again like one of my favorites. Like I actually researched a lot about it, and what I learned from my experience and like the documentaries and all which you're talking about, game changers and what the hell, and all, where they discuss this in so much depth. What I've learned is basically all this trend started in the Western, where in West where they realized like all the animals and everything they were being injected, and when they were consuming this, a lot of health disorders, diseases like PCOS, thyroids, cancer,
PCOS, yeah. Hmm.
kidney issues had popped up, and they like blamed it and put it all on the milk. And in a way, it was true because of the hormones which we practically saw which were actually being injected. And that was the culprit because people noticed good changes in their body when they stopped taking this.
Hmm.
It was not just the milk, but also the meat products and
Yep.
all as such put together.
Hmm.
And in India, when coming to India and looking at the situation here, I really don't know how Amul and Vijaya and all these other milk sources function, but it'll be good to really go into the tap into the source. Are you getting your milk from a farm?
Right. Yeah.
Dairy, or even if you're getting it from a dairy, see what kind, are you getting buffalo milk or what kind of milk are you getting at home?
Hmm.
If it's a natural gir cow, which is the species,
Yep.
they are the species that produce the A2 milk.
A2 milk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. Sure.
So, and what is this A1, A2? These are just your proteins that are present in the milk, and A2 protein is something which is much more similar to the protein present in the mother's milk, which you
Hmm.
have consumed as a baby, and that's why it's considered to be good for the body. So, if you know your source, you're getting it from this source. it's from this farm, it's like reliable source and all, then you go ahead and consume the A2 milk, especially if you're a vegetarian and your protein sources are of course limited. And otherwise, if you're not aware of it, and if you have a lot of diseases cropping up in your body, like inflammation,
Yeah.
skin issues, again, all of this, you have gut issues like a lot of heartburn and acidity, a lot of other things happening, really look into what's going wrong. Consult your dietitian once with your 24-hour recall of what you've eaten all this while, and see if it's needed to keep a stop on the dairy products. Like even the
So,
acne all is related to.
so, what I understand you are saying is that if it is causing a problem, then maybe think about stopping it. Otherwise, it's okay. But my question is it really needed? क्योंकि जैसे गाय का भी जो दूध होता है वो एक्चुअली काफ के लिए टिपिकली बना होता है, हर बेसिकली हर स्पीशी का जो मिल्क है उसके बच्चे के लिए बना हुआ है, और उसका बच्चा भी साल भर में पीना करके छोड़ देता है. उसके बाद ह्यूमन बीइंग इज द ओनली स्पीशीज जो पीती जा रही है, गाय का भी पी रही है, भैंस का भी पी रही है, ऊंट का भी पी रही है, कई कई केसेस में कभी बकरे का पीने लग जाते हैं. बट नो अदर स्पीशी इफ यू सी इस तरह से, मतलब ठीक है ऑफ कोर्स देयर आर एक्सेप्शंस, दूसरे का दूध पीना और उसका अपना बच्चा भी छोड़ देता है दूध पीना एक टाइम के बाद. तो इज इट रिक्वायर्ड? ठीक है, परेशानी आ गई तो छोड़ना एक बात हो गया, बट लेट से किसी को परेशानी नहीं है कोई भी, वो अपनी ऑप्टिमल हेल्थ पे रहना चाहता है, मतलब लाइक यू नो मैं चल पा रही हूँ, इट डजंट मीन कि मैं ठीक हूँ. मैं हो सकता है दौड़ पाती थी, हो सकता है मैं उड़ पाती थी, या कुछ भी कर सकती थी. सो एक कहना कि मैं ठीक हूँ और कोई परेशानी नहीं हो रही डजंट रियली मीन कि मैं ठीक हूँ, बिकॉज आई कुड एक्चुअली बी मच मोर देन व्हाट आई एम टुडे. So I am limiting that potential. So is it required, or is it just protein which is causing so many people to drink it, or is it the industry, because dairy is a very very big industry and there are so many people whose livelihood depends on dairy.
Right, that's true. So I would say if you're getting your one way which you mentioned the point of industry, that is actually true. Like like it was majority of the industries putting pressure कि you should drink milk. This is good
हाँ,
for you. You
दूध
have to.
दूध दूध दूध, ये वाला एड कहाँ से आया? किसी ने बनाया तभी तो आया ना. या रोज खाओ अंडे, संडे हो या मंडे. मतलब कोई खीरा तो आके ऐसा बोला नहीं कि रोज खाओ खीरा. बिकॉज वो इतनी बड़ी इंडस्ट्री अभी नहीं है खीरे की.
That's also true. That's also, I think, it's a lot of hype that's created. And apart from that, I've already told you like the minimum intake of protein that you're required to take. Apart from the protein, as a female or a male, if you think you're not getting that calcium source from the normal foods, which would be your green leafy vegetables, sesame seeds,
हाँ,
sesame के लड्डू जो होते हैं, nuts and
करेक्ट
seeds and
करेक्ट
all.
करेक्ट
So
करेक्ट.
taking the calcium from that, अभी तो प्लांट प्रोटीन प्लांट मिल्क इतने फेमस हो गए, सोयाबीन मिल्क, आलमंड
Yes.
मिल्क. If you're able to afford that, if you're able to consume that and make up to your level of calcium, whatever is required, then you're good to go. But if you're deficient, you once check with your health professional once again. If you're not getting the sources, you're feeling de-energetic, malnutrition, and
हाँ.
you will really need to look into considering having the A2 milk from the source or anything, or if you're not into it at all, consider having a supplement again, or just those laddus and all. Just look into that.
Sure, we are getting a lot of question on milk part and then sugar part as well. I'll take one of them which we haven't covered yet. It is said that fasting has a lot of good effects. But what about people who have gastric issues? Should they fast, or should they fast with some limitations? What do you say about intermittent fasting? Yeah.
Okay. So, intermittent fasting, just to brief up, is not a fad diet. It's a way of living, I would say. Our body works on a certain rhythm. As you've also seen in Ayurveda and all, with the sunrise, the body's digestive fire and all, and the metabolism starts to kick in and work a little more. And 12 o'clock or 1 or 2, when the sun is at the peak, your digestive fire is also at a peak, where that's why that's termed as a lunch time. And then as the sun sets around 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, your digestive fire, the agni that's going to digest the food, also starts reducing. So that's why we say have a lighter dinner.
Hmm.
So intermittent fasting in a way is a way of life. If you're feeling gastric, firstly see where you're going wrong. It may just not be. It could be whether you're fasting the wrong way, whether you're opening the fast in the wrong way. Like if you're opening your fast, are you just eating such a huge meal, or are you opening the fast with a pakoda?
Like Karwa Chauth, like you open it with a massive meal. Yeah, I was booky since 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, and do you notice even in Karwa Chauth, when you open your fast, it's at least in like the Marwadi families or the North
Yeah.
Indian families I've observed, they have deep fried
Yeah, it's a joke. Why do you
with.
even keep the fast? If you have to do like this, and then you get up in the morning at 5 o'clock, whether you are hungry or not hungry, you will have paratha and this and that. And then at 8 o'clock, you are like a bookie sherni and then eating so much. Then why bother keeping the fast if you are that tortured?
Truly, and all they have is puri and all that is prepared from the
Yeah.
morning to feed the moon. And like, I'm not against it, but I just want people to know it's harmful for their body.
So how should you open a fast? Like, let's say Karwa Chauth is about to come, and now, so many festivals are coming, and that's why probably we have every now and then you have this fast and that fast. So how should one open a fast?
Okay, so I would suggest people to open their fast with something natural. Like, firstly, make sure you're drinking water. Okay, that is the water, though you can even have it in the fasting stage whenever. And open your fast with something natural, which would be soaked nuts, soaked seeds, or fruits.
Okay.
A simple fruit like apple would do, and consider not having an acidic fruit like orange and all if you're
Yeah.
already on a acidic side kind of a body. Have an apple, basic fruits, banana, have soaked almonds, walnuts, soaked raisins or along with the almonds,
Correct.
anjeer, that's also
Correct.
soaked nice, pumpkin seeds, like all this would be good to open your fast with, or dates which people
Okay. So
normally open
anything
with.
natural, basically. Anything
Yeah,
natural and mildly sweet.
so nuts, seeds,
Yeah.
or fruits will be.
Understood, understood. So you spoke about in your conversation, you spoke about insulin resistance and PCOD, PCOS. So could you talk a little bit more about that? Like, because when you go to doctors, many a times they don't give you a reason for your illness. Like they would say, हो जाता है आजकल, मतलब कोई आपको ज़्यादा डिटेल में कुछ बताता नहीं है. So like we want to maybe dig a little bit deeper into this subject of insulin resistance. What exactly is it, and what type of things it can cause in the body?
Right. So, insulin resistance is nothing but, I mean, of course, as the name suggests, if you get that condition, your body is trying to resist the insulin. Either it's not able to produce properly, either it's producing too little. And why is this happening? This is all because of the stress that's created mentally, emotionally. As a female, like we are very vulnerable, very prone to emotions and a lot of things going on. So it's either that or something affecting you like mentally, and you're not able to sleep well. And if you're not able to sleep well, your ghrelin and leptin, the hunger hormones, going up and down, causing you to eat at midnight, messing up your digestive system. All of this is going to cause the insulin level fluctuations and all in the body. So it's very closely related to insulin resistance, which is also again a indicator which is used to measure your diabetes levels and
Hmm.
all.
Hmm.
So that is why sometimes the doctors end up giving a PCOS patient the metformin, which is usually
Okay.
given to the diabetic patients.
Right.
So how to fix this? Like just see where you're going wrong. Are you that stressed? If you're stressed, look into your look like consult a psychologist, or if it's not that easy for you, talk to a friend whom you trust, and just see if it's your stress causing you all this havoc.
Hmm.
And of course, just see to it if you can go to bed on time. That's gonna help your insulin levels, stay more saner, and make sure that the meals that you're having are a balanced one. So carbohydrates में दो तरह के carbohydrates होते हैं, like the simple and complex carb. Make sure you're not just having the simple carb, which is just the white rice or just the white, the wheat-based
Maida
roti.
and all. Huh, correct.
Complex carb like jawar roti, ragi roti, oats. These are also going to help you keep your sugar levels a little more stable along with the proteins. And that's also going to help you stabilize your uh, sugar levels or the insulin and help you come out of the PCOS as well if you're balancing.
So, in a lot of these discussions, sometimes we hear that it looks like stress is the elephant in the room, basically. So, like we speak about nutrition and diseases and so many other things. But let's say if a child look at a 5 year or a 10-year-old child, they eat all sort of crap. They eat like chocolates, and all their parties is like full of I don't know who creates those meals, but yeah, all of them are fried and everything. They're all okay. So is it like stress is the main elephant, and if you do not tackle that, no matter how much we read and think and debate, but still you're going to end up with problem? Is that the case? Is that your hot what you have seen in your practice is what I'm really interested in knowing. Like, do you see patients with higher form of sickness are usually also the one who are worrying about that sickness, who are who are more stressed in general? Is that the case? Or because children are typically always okay, they eat everything and they're okay. So is
Yeah.
stress the main thing one needs to attend?
Yes, stress is definitely one of the biggest things I think one needs to attend. And since you've already brought up this topic, I wanted to like share this. If you've realized your stress, emotions, and all, I mean, they're all interlinked with your breath. So if you've seen, if you're happy, your breath is, I mean, you must have noticed how your breath is when you're happy. Like even
Slow.
just
Yeah.
about it's very slow. When you're angry, it's super fast, heavy.
Yeah.
And when you're irritated, again, it's a little jittery here and there. When you're nervous, again, it's very different. So there's a constant interaction with how your breath is, the rhythm is with your emotions and your stress levels. So if your emotions can control your breath, I feel even the breath can control your emotions and your
Emotions.
stress. If you're stressed, take the time to just sit down, take some deep 5 breaths, ujjayi pranayama and all, which again comes to yoga. You can keep the yoga aside. In psychology, they're calling it box breathing as such.
Yeah.
Do those things, sit down, take yourself the time to unwind yourself, take the responsibility for yourself. Sit down, unwind, do that, take a 20-minute nap, and you can really see how that changes your entire mood, changes your body's the way it's functioning. Because if you're stressed, even the food you're eating is not being digested. Like, let's get that straight. The nutritious food you're eating, it's not going to be absorbed in the body if you're super stressed. Our
Correct.
body has those nervous system, parasympathetic and sympathetic. If you're constantly under stress, the sympathetic nervous system, the stress, flight and fight hormones or
Yeah.
things
Correct.
that are active, it's not going
Yeah.
to help us. So that's something we need to keep in mind, and that's why I take that responsibility every day to get up in the morning to just sit for at least 15-20 minutes with yourself, doing either a 10-minute meditation, a guided meditation from YouTube,
Yeah.
or doing some pranayama, or doing, maybe even just going for a walk in the garden. That's going to help you just feel more relaxed with the nature if you're not
Correct.
in meditation.
Correct.
Because if
Correct.
the food you eat is just 2 kgs of food in a day, in a month it is 60 kgs. For a year, it will be like around a ton. And how much breath do you consume in a day? Oxygen would be around 10,000 liters approximately in a day. And for a month, just you do your calculation. For a month, it will be this much, and for a year, it will be this much. So just see the amount of air you're consuming and the oxygen and how that breath is impacting your emotions, the way you're feeling, how it's helping you digest your food. So take that responsibility for yourself to keep that stress, that happiness cushion, everything in your control and not in anyone else's control.
Correct, correct, correct. So one last question. We are running out of time, but one last question because the audience are giving so many questions here. So how safe is water fasting for 2 to 3 days in a row?
Water fasting,
So you are only drinking water. You are not eating anything. Just on water for 48 hours on a stretch.
I would suggest you go for it if you're trained well with the intermittent fasting and under a guidance if you can, because suddenly I would not suggest someone to
Yeah.
go for a water fast. Like, just really consult a professional before you do that. Train your body well. Like train your body
Sure.
for 16 is to 8, 20 hours. Like I will
16,
not.
you then do 20, then 24, and so on. Okay.
Yeah. And then you go to that extent and not suddenly putting your body into a shock like that.
So basically, what you are saying is not to give shocks to the body. Whatever we want to do it slowly, slowly, slowly and steady. Wins the race like a tortoise, rather
Increase
than.
the fasting time gradually and do it with the consultation of a professional that if it's really needed for you and why do you want to do it. And
Sure, sure, sure. No, no, Malvika, thank you so much. It was quite nice to have this lively discussion with you, and I'm sure audience also gained a lot. They had so many questions, and you very rightly answered a lot of them. So thank you so much for coming, and I hope we continue this association. And because I'm sure, like everything about nutrition cannot be discussed in just 1 hour, and we will be talking to you again and again. And thank you so much for giving time to us.
thank you so much, Priyanka, for calling me over. And
Thank
I
you.
thoroughly enjoyed speaking and interacting. And yeah,
No, thank
audience.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.